Hi, this is Alexandra Kitty, and this is Officer Down, a podcast where we look at true crime stories where the victim is somebody in law enforcement. So continuing our theme in season 2, we're looking at law enforcement agents who are the victims of what we would consider traditional homicide. So it wasn't that they were killed in the line of duty. Of the last two cases we've seen, they were victims of domestic violence. So let's look at NYPD officer Adeed Fayaz. It was an American police officer that was murdered in 2023. So we're talking about the American dream betrayed. So we're talking about Adeed Fayaz and the Facebook Marketplace murder. On February 4th, 2023, 26-year-old NYPD officer Adeed Fayaz, a married father of two young children and a rising star in the department, was lured to a remote street in East New York, Brooklyn, by a fraudulent Facebook Marketplace advertisement for a Honda Pilot SUV. When he arrived with his brother-in-law and $24,000 in cash, a 38-year-old career criminal, Andy Popper Jones, ambushed them, putting Fayaz in a headlock and demanding the money before shooting him in the head. Fayaz, who had recently passed the sergeant's exam and dreamed of providing a better life for his family, died 3 days later on February 7, 2023, at Brookdale Hospital. His murder sent shockwaves through New York City and underscored the growing danger of online marketplace scams that turn deadly. So let's talk a little bit about the victim. Adeed Fayaz was born in Islamabad, Pakistan, and was raised in Queens, New York after his family emigrated to the United States. As a child, Adeed excelled in school and found joy in sports, particularly cricket, boxing, handball, and swimming. He grew up in a large, close-knit family where he learned to love and be loved, values that would define his life. Adeed met his future wife, Amediha, at a family wedding where they shared an instant connection. The pair later married and brought two beautiful children into the world. Adeed was deeply devoted to his wife and children, and his dream was to provide them with a home they could be proud of. On October 23, 2017, Adeed Fayaz joined the New York Police Department, following the footsteps of his uncles, who were also NYPD officers. He was assigned the 66th Precinct in Brooklyn, where he worked patrol and quickly earned a reputation for loving his job, helping people in need, and stopping crime in the city. One of Fayaz's greatest accomplishments during his 5.5 years of service was passing the test to become a sergeant, a milestone that reflected his dedication and potential for leadership within the NYPD. To supplement his police salary and save for his family's future, Fayaz bought and sold cars as a side business. Friends described this as a hobby he enjoyed and used to make extra money for his wife and children. It was the side business that would ultimately lead to his death. So let's talk now about the perpetrator, Randy Popper Jones. Randy Jones, 38, had a lengthy criminal history with at least 22 prior arrests for offenses including grand larceny, harassment, strangulation, domestic violence arrest in 2014, driving without a license wanted on a 2019 warrant. Police sources describe Jones as a career criminal who had evaded accountability for years. Investigators believe Jones was running a sophisticated robbery scheme using Facebook Marketplace to lure victims with phony car listings. Police were investigating whether Jones was connected to other reported robberies linked to Facebook Marketplace, including one that occurred in early January just down the block from where Fayaz was shot. So let's talk about East New York. So the shooting occurred on Ruby Street, more specifically 452 Ruby Street in East New York, Brooklyn, one of the city's most crime-affected neighborhoods. East New York has historically been one of New York City's most dangerous neighborhoods, with elevated rates of robbery, assault, and gun violence. The remote industrial nature of Ruby Street made it an ideal location for Jones to carry out his ambush with minimal witnesses. So let's talk about the timeline of the incident. Saturday, February 3, weeks before, Randy Jones posted a fraudulent advertisement on your Facebook Marketplace offering a Honda Pilot SUV for sale at $24,000. Days before, off-duty NYPD officer Adeed Fayaz saw the listing and contacted the seller Jones to arrange a purchase. Fayaz planned to buy the vehicle for his growing family. At approximately 6:50 p.m., Fayaz and his brother-in-law, arrived at 452 Ruby Street in East New York, Brooklyn, carrying $24,000 in cash to complete the transaction. According to NYPD Chief of Detectives James Essing, the following sequence of events unfolded. The setup. Jones jokingly asked Fayaz and his brother-in-law if either of them were carrying a gun. When they said no, Jones pulled out a handgun. The headlock. Jones put Officer Fayaz in a headlock and aimed the weapon at his head, demanding cash. The demand. Officer Fayaz stated he didn't have any money, Essing explained, prompting the assailant to direct the firearm towards his brother-in-law. The shooting. Fayaz managed to break free from the headlock. At that moment, Jones shot him in the head. Returned fire. Fayaz's brother-in-law grabbed the gun from Fayaz's waist, and returned fire at least 6 times at Jones, who was fleeing. The escape. Jones jumped into the driver's seat of a black BMW SUV registered to his mother at 129th Street and Park Avenue and sped away. The immediate aftermath at 6:50 p.m., emergency services were called to Ruby Street. Shortly after, Fayaz was rushed to Brookdale Hospital in critical condition with a gunshot wound to the head. The next 72 hours, Fayaz remained in grave condition on life support as doctors assessed his brain activity. NYPD detectives immediately launched a manhunt for Randy Jones. Dashcam footage from the brother-in-law's vehicle helped investigators identify the getaway vehicle, a black BMW SUV registered to Jones's mother. Within 46 hours of the shooting, the NYPD, working with the U.S. Marshal Service and New York, New Jersey Regional Fugitive Task Force, Jones to a Days Inn motel in Nanuet, Rockland County, approximately 30 miles north of New York City. The evening of February 6, 2023, officers surrounded the motel room where Jones was staying with his girlfriend and 5 children ages 6 months to 11 years. The symbolic arrest. Detectives arrested Randy Jones using Officer Fayaz's own handcuffs. NYPD Chief of Detectives James Essing explained the significance. We wanted him to know who he harmed, what he did to that officer. I believe it sends a significant message. NYPD Commissioner Keishan Sewell said, dated, he fled, but he could not evade our reach. In less than 46 hours, he was handcuffed by an NYPD detective assigned to the U.S. Marshals Regional Fugitive Task Force. On Tuesday, February 3, after 3 days in the hospital, Officer Adeed Fayaz was pronounced dead at Brookdale Hospital on the afternoon of February 7th. That evening, hundreds of NYPD officers assembled outside Brookdale Hospital for a dignified transfer. As Fayaz's body was brought out, the neighborhood lit up with flashing lights and sirens as fellow officers rushed to grieve. NYPD Commissioner Keishan Sewell tweeted, Officer Adeed Fayaz was a father, a husband, a son, and a guardian of our great city. Officer Fayaz was shot Saturday night and tragically lost his life today. Our department mourns his loss deeply, and his family and loved ones are in our thoughts and prayers. Thursday, February 9th, 2023 was the funeral. Thousands of grief-stricken family members, colleagues, and friends flooded Brooklyn to pay respects to Officer Fayaz at the Maki Masjid Muslim Community Center in Brooklyn. Mayor Eric Adams delivered this speech. To the family, our hearts are broken, but our arms are strong. We will hold and lift you up and show you that your son, your husband, did not die in vain. We are in pain, and just as many years ago, we had turned this pain into purpose, and we're at that moment again. One of his uncles gave a tearful tribute. I'm not going to cry for my nephew anymore. I'm just going to hold on to his legacy and try to be Adeed. You know, people say usually, I want to be like my uncle. I might be the first uncle to say, I want to be like my nephew, Adeed. That's how good my nephew was, and I thank everyone for being here and helping us get through this. Ahmed and Harris, close friends from Aviation High School in Long Island City, Queens, shared their memories. Ahmed: Adeed was probably the most down-to-earth guy I know. Very humble, somebody that always stood up for the little guy, always was there for you, would never pick a fight, and always supportive. Harris: he was a great family man, a great friend. Actually, no one has anything negative to say about him. Anybody you ask in our graduate class of 2014 from Aviation High School, they have nothing negative about him. He was really friendly, humble to everyone, and that's how I will remember him. So now let's talk about the legal proceedings. The initial charges on February 3. Randy Jones was charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, 1 with a stipulation for being committed during a robbery, 1 count of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted robbery, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon. The arraignment was also on the same day. Jones appeared in Brooklyn Supreme Court but did not enter a plea. He was held without bail. The Legal Aid Society, representing Jones, issued a statement. While we acknowledge that this is an incredibly painful and challenging moment for the family, friends, and community of Officer Adeed Fayaz, Randy Jones is entitled to the presumption of innocence, a vital principle enshrined in the United States Constitution. We urge the public to refrain from judgment and allow this case to progress through the criminal justice system. The indictment on March 13, 2023, Randy Jones was formally indicted on charges of first-degree murder, attempted robbery, and weapons possession. Dozens of NYPD officers filled the courtroom to support Fayaz's family during the arraignment. Jones pleaded not guilty and was scheduled to return to court in May 2023. As of December 2025, Jones remains held without bail as the case continues through the criminal justice system. As for the aftermath and legacy, Tunnel to Towers Foundation support stepped in to support Amahia Fayaz and her 2 children, ensuring they would have a home of their own, the dream Adeed had worked so hard to achieve. She later stated, "After Tunnel to Towers supported me and my family, I felt relieved to know my children will have a shelter of their own that their father dreamed of." On July 21st, 2023, a street renaming ceremony was held on Long Island for Officer Adeed Fayaz, ever etching his name into his hometown. On the 1-year anniversary of his death, the NYPD held a memorial and prayer service in Brighton Beach to honor his memory. The NYPD posted on Facebook, "Today marks the first anniversary of Officer Adeed Fayaz's passing. He was mortally wounded during an attempted robbery while off duty." Unlike line-of-duty deaths where the officers are targeted because of their profession, Adeed Fayaz was killed as a civilian victim in a robbery scam. His badge and training could not protect him from a predator who only saw him as a mark with cash. Fayaz's story is the quintessential American immigration narrative. Born in Pakistan, raised in Queens, dedicated to public service, working hard to provide for his family. His murder while trying to buy a car for his growing family is a heartbreaking perversion of that dream. The case also highlights the growing danger of Facebook marketplace scams, where criminals lure victims to isolated locations under the pretense of legitimate transactions only to rob or kill them. The decision to arrest Randy Jones using Fayaz's own handcuffs was a powerful act of justice and remembrance, a message that even in death, Officer Fayaz helped bring his killer to justice. The murder of NYPD officer Fayaz on February 4th, 2023, is a story of dreams deferred and a life cut tragically short. A devoted husband, father, son, and police officer who passed the sergeant's exam and dreamed of a better future for his family, Fayaz fell victim to a career criminal's greed and violence while off-duty and vulnerable. His death sent shockwaves through New York City and the broader law enforcement community, serving as a stark reminder that police officers face dangers not only on the job, but also in their personal lives when targeted by predators who see them as easy marks. As his uncle said at his funeral, "I might be the first uncle to say I want to be like my nephew." That's how good he was. Randy Jones may have stolen his life, but he could not erase his legacy of service, love, and the American dream he embodied. So we can see that, we can have the training and the ability to defend ourselves, but sometimes that just isn't enough. And life has just, a funny way of challenging everything we know. So that's today's program. I hope I gave you something to ponder. Next week will be another case. Till then, this is Alexandra Kitty. Ta-ta for now.